Okay, I am live. Good morning, my good people. It is Jaimi Alexander, your host and moderator for Kings Speak. So, Kings Speak is a series that I created. It's an interview series. First, it was an event, which I'll see how events are going these days. So, it's not an event anymore. But it originally started as like a five-course meal, cigars, whiskey tasting, scotch, and a discussion to be amongst men and me creating the space for it. But since we closed everything down and it's just really difficult to get people together, now I'm doing it here. So it's an interview series. We have so much coming up for you. I hope you guys continue to watch, but it was definitely created with the intention to have men weigh in and give their point of view on, brotherhood, healing, evolving, emotional intelligence, vulnerability, all things that are extremely important, but in mainstream society have kind of been stripped away from, the man. Like generally, we don't talk about these things as much as we should or could. We're beginning to when it comes to men and how they grow and evolve. So today we have an amazing guest, and I'm really excited to bring him on. I don't see him in here yet, but Dr. Ryeal Simms, who is a friend of mine, known him for a little while. He's really brilliant, has an amazing background, so I'll just tell you about him. He is a relationship scientist. So, oh, thank you. It's my bedroom. A relationship scientist. Dr. Ryeal Simms is a cognitive neuropsychologist, behaviorist, motivational speaker, and the leading authority on neuro. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm messing this whole thing up. The leading authority on the neuroscience of relationships worldwide. So we're about to get in a conversation with a licensed and certified relationship coach, counselor, marriage facilitator, the whole nine. So I bet you he knows just a little something about cheating and the science of attraction, which is what I want to know about. Max Sunny Rose in the building. Hey. All right, let's see if he's in here. I see. Let's let him in. Okay. Oh. How does this work? He's in here, but he's not in here. Okay, well, while he's got to turn on, I don't know, Ryeal, you can hear me, but you got to turn your video on. Let's see. Sorry, you guys, be patient with me while I get him in here. All right. Okay, so I see he's in the studio, but he's not. Oh, ladies lounge, what's up? I guess if you guys that are in here have questions, please feel free to ask questions. I'm sure Ryeal would be so happy to retort with his expertise, which is what we want, right? Okay, there he goes. Adam to stream. Ryeal.
Hey, what's happening?
Nothing much and everything all at the same time. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good, all over the place like usual, missing brunch.
Yeah, no, man, those are some awesome events.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I am so glad you took the time to speak with me today because we've been trying to get together for a while.
Yeah, finally.
Yes. Can you see in the chat? I've got some ladies in the chat who are excited about this conversation. And we really want to know about the science of attraction and cheating and how our bodies work and the different things. So we're going to dive into this conversation. But before we go too deep, you want to tell people a little bit about yourself and what qualifies you to preach to the people today?
Yeah, well, I'm a neuropsychologist. I specialize in the neuroscience of why we do what we do from an eco-biopsychosocial and spiritual point of view. I teach body language as well. I'm a behaviorist, and I'm also a sex expert too as well, and a coach. And I speak all over the world. I also work in the film industry too, as well as a consultant. So when people are doing relationship theme type films, I actually edit the script and put in the science of why we do what we do to speaker, counselor, and all kind of the stuff. That's it.
Yeah, all of the things. That is absolutely incredible. Your expertise, stretches far and wide, and I love to hear that in films they're calling on experts to actually get some of this stuff right. So some of the stuff that we're seeing is scientific, and I love it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yes.
so we have talked about some of this before, but not on camera. So let's see. Can you give us an overview of what happens to our brains and bodies scientifically when we're attracted to somebody? And is it different between men and women?
Yeah, slightly. Yeah, slightly. It is. It is. So the first thing we know that everybody knows that what makes us attractive is our symmetric symmetry, our face. And that's the first thing that we look at. And then we look at the golden ratio, the body. And the golden ratio is going to tell us something similar to what we might want to be interested in. And that might be certain things on the person's face. So it's not necessarily like the whole symmetric symmetry, but it might be the eyes, right? That turn that certain person on, right? It may be the nose, it may be the lips, the full lips, right? And when it comes to the golden ratio, depending on if it's the woman or the man, I mean, female, the woman or the male. And it might be the hips, right? Because we know that the hips are saying that she is fertile and she's baby making, and that's the woman. And we don't know it though. We're not like totally conscious of it, right? Because we're totally hardwired, right? So with men, we also look at the square chin, the jaws, right? The chest and how the person stands, right? It says a lot about his health, because what we have to understand is the first thing that happens is when we actually look at each other or even come in contact with each other, there's a certain thing that happens without our conscious that's actually doing a body scan. And when it's doing the body scan, it's actually seeing if this person have some biological, what we call major histocompatibility complex, how do I say? If this person has the opposite match, because we think the body wants something similar to it, but the body wants an opposite of what the other body is, right? And that's what's so cool, is that the body's not looking for the same DNA, right? So when we come close to each other, the first thing we do that every living, breathing creature does, smell. That's the first thing we do, is that we smell. And we actually are smelling the person's DNA, the person's immune system. And if you notice any canines, the first thing two dogs do when they come up, what's the first thing that they do? Smell. And they're smelling for several things, right? They're smelling to see if you're ovulating. They're smelling to see if you a woman or man. I guess we'll talk about that too later, right? And that's what the male body is doing instantly on that body scan, right? Because we're trying to see if we have a biological compatible situation that's happening right now, which is sometimes could be dangerous too, right? Because our body is like looking to procreate, and sometimes we can get caught up into that, and without knowing who the person is, right? Yeah.
You can certainly get caught up in that.
Yes, caught up in it, right?
Yes, because the way you're explaining it, I'm seeing all the good, but I'm seeing all the bad decisions that are possible, because you're looking at someone, and even if because I've actually experienced love at first sight before. And I don't know where it came from. It's not something that I would have believed in. I don't even know if I smelled the man, but there was something about it. And then, of course, it wasn't the right person or person that was generally fit for me, because I believe we make decisions with either our mind, heart, or gut. And sometimes those things get confused in all of the things that you're talking about. So for men, it will, okay. So for men and women, we're going through this scan, we're doing the smelling, we're smelling the DNA, we're finding our match in this primal way. When do we make the separation with our minds to say, okay, what's the next step of this person being a viable candidate for all of the stuff I'm smelling?
Yeah, that's why it's important to actually take your time. Because when we rush into it, then we're talking about, we added more drugs into the situation. So we're talking about phenylethylamine, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, especially oxytocin. That's why it's so important, because even, oxytocin is the strongest, right? I mean, everybody knows about, should I explain it if some people?
Yeah, can you just explain what's oxytocin, when it's released, and why it feels good to us?
Yeah, when oxytocin is released, oxytocin is actually a bonding chemical, a neurotransmitter. And what happens is that it actually bonds woman and child together. So when she has birth, when she has a baby, she actually is releasing oxytocin, and that's what brings you together. That's what bonds you, right? That's where we get that bond, mother and child, right? And when you become an adult and you are intimate with someone, that also bonds you to the person. That's why you want to cuddle after sex, right? And that's that bonding chemical. That's if that man released the oxytocin in you, right? So the problem with that is if this person isn't emotionally attached to you, right? Or intellectually attached to you, and it's just biologically attached to you, what happens is that you actually think that you are in love with this person because your body is yearning for this person, because the oxytocin bonds you to this person, and it also makes you feel good. So when we are liking someone, there's other things that are happening in our brain. And the dopaminergic system, which is our VTA, our ventral tegmental area. And when I'm saying these words, I'm going to also mention them in a layman term so you can understand it, right? So the ventral tegmental area, the caudate nucleus and the nucleus accumbens, this is an area that's our pleasure center. This is what makes us feel good. So when that part of the brain is triggered, right, we're high. We're at an altered state of consciousness or euphoria, and it's making us really high, like, oh my God, no different than other drugs, right? Because it's still stimulating the same the same areas in our brain to make us high, but these are natural drugs, right? So when we're high off of something, when you ask somebody else that's like a drug addict or something, and they say, yeah, when I took that drug, it was like, whoa, and I wanted it again, right? It's the same thing. So when that oxytocin is released, that body is saying, I want it again. Oh my God, it felt so good. So you yearning for that person makes you think, I must like this person because I want to see this person. I want to talk to this person. But it's actually the body, because you don't know anything about the person yet, right? You didn't take out time to get, you actually had sex. Like how did we have sex on the first night? Can I mention that? Can I?
You can absolutely mention that.
Say you're ovulating. Remember when I said the first thing you do is smell?
Yeah.
So the dangerous thing for a woman is to go to a club when she's ovulating.
Check your calendars, ladies. When are you ovulating? Stay in the house or they're coming for you.
Because when you ovulate, you release a certain chemical called copulins. So we smell that. When a man smells that, he also releases something that's called androstenone. So what happens is you're both smelling these chemicals, And now your brain is thinking all about procreating, because when you ovulate, that's what the body is doing. The body is saying, I'm ovulating. And when you ovulate, what happens? That's when the whole process of the egg, right? So the egg goes into, the whole what we call tenting, right? Vasopressin, and it goes through the whole process. And it's like the egg is like, okay, all right, I'm ready.
Where is
I'm
that?
ready. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Right. And so you're like, okay, it's like the egg is talking to you, and you're like, okay, just wait a minute, hold on. Let me just ask his name, and then we're gone. Then we're gonna leave, right? And see, that's the danger of it, because like when you like I mentioned about the canines, right? When a canine goes up, I'm from Chicago, and in my neighborhoods, I did live in a nice neighborhood, but at times you just have stray dogs running. So you see the female dog, right? But you see the male dogs right behind her, because she's in what?
Heat.
Actually, absolutely. And a woman is also in heat. When she ovulates, we call it estrus. We don't say in heat, but it's the same thing. Every living, breathing female creature on this earth does the exact same thing, right? And that's why we smell to see if you're ready. That's why you see, other animals like rams, when they know that she's ready, and rams are fighting each other, to compete, right? To go and to have sex with her, because she's ovulating right now. So that's how we end up having sex in the first night too, as well. And just think, you say, I'm not going to go all the way. But what happens is you start kissing. And once you start kissing, you receive testosterone from his saliva. So the testosterone from his saliva goes into the ventrotegmental area, the caudate nucleus area, the pleasure center part of the brain. So what you're doing is you're receiving testosterone through his saliva. The testosterone is what actually helps the woman to become aroused. She needs that testosterone in her body that helps her to become aroused. And that's part of the process. That's why, I try to explain to most men, take your time. Take your time and be patient, because it's a process with the woman, and she has to receive this testosterone, and it's a part of the foreplay, right? So men have to really understand, it's not about you're ready. It's about waiting until she's ready, because there's some bad consequences that comes with that when you don't wait. Like I mentioned, vasopressin, right? The whole process is, once that testosterone and everything is ready, it starts with the hypothalamus, and it goes into the pituitary glands down into the uterus. So what happens is that the reason why we have to be patient is that we have to wait until the vaginal canal becomes lubricated, because that's what the testosterone is doing. And we have to wait for the blood to go into the walls of the vaginal canal. So the blood goes into the vaginal canal, so it could grip what goes in, versus just being open. The blood makes it swell, right? So whatever goes in, it could grip the penis. Now, what's important is that the reason why us men have to really take our time is because we have to wait until the cervix area pushes the uterus back. The cervix, when you've heard this before, and you women have probably said this many times. Girl, he was all in my stomach, right?
Yep.
But it wasn't his penis in your stomach. It was actually your uterus in your stomach, because it's pushing
My uterus, just saying.
the cervix, right? So the cervix is pushing the uterus, so you don't damage it. So you don't damage the uterus. So when the men don't wait and just jump right into it, right? You're hitting the cervix. The cervix didn't push the uterus back, so you're damaging. That's why men should only wait until the woman says harder, instead of banging it just to make her scream and holler. Well, she might be in really serious pain and not pleasure pain, right? So you have to wait until the cervix actually pulls the uterus back, because the uterus is trying to protect just in case 5 to 10 inches are going in and it's not destroying your vaginal canal. Because, you have some women that actually go to the hospital for that reason, because, he's too, well endowed, he's too big, Yeah.
I mean, you just gave a breakdown that I feel like we should have been getting in school or anything, because I found about 85 million ways to trip myself up. Even just in relationships that I've been in, a lot of the things that you said, I can see where just not being privy to this information, we think we're in love, we think that's our man, we think that's our husband. And because women are generally nurturing and want to just go for, marriage, husband, babies, and men are wired differently. It really messes both parties up when we're not privy to this information. So one thing I wanted to ask, and actually Max Rose in the comments brought it up, but she was saying this is why we have to bring back courtship. So can we kind of talk about what are the things that we can do to kind of bypass nature in a certain way where we're still open, feeling, receiving, and responding, but also combining that with conscious choice? Is that about a value system? Is that how should we be thinking to think, oh girl, oh my God, I think that's my husband, I'm in love? Is there a period of time where we should say, hold on, let me wait a month and see this or that? How do we navigate this?
Yeah, well, it all starts with, before you venture into the relationship arena, it all starts like what we're talking about right now. If somebody is mindful, conscious of what I'm saying, and then say, oh, you know what, I'm going to take on that. I'm going to practice that. That's going to be my mantra now. That's going to be my strategy, to boyfriends. I have to be mindful that when I see somebody and his symmetry is totally awesome, his body is built and everything, I have to be more in control of what I'm looking at, sort of like being on a diet, right? You see the cake, you have to be mindful not to do it because you have a goal, right? And your goal is to get to a certain weight before you start eating these things again, right? So you have to be totally mindful of it, and prayer too as well, and practice, right? When we do that, I mean, and I'm not saying destroy the laws of nature, right? Because we're hardwired to do this, but we also can have control of it, right? And when we start learning how to do it, it becomes second nature, because it's part of our neural circuitry in our brain. And our neural circuitry, when we create a neural pathway, so the more we practice, we create this neural pathway in our brain, and we have to do that. So what are some of those things that are so important? It's actually making sure that you do your homework, making sure that you go through the process of your non-negotiables, your needs, and your wants. When I'm speaking in school, when I'm speaking in high school to young girls, I really love speaking to the young girls to let them know that, first of all, you're the chooser, not the chosen. The men, they find you, right? You know how we hear, he who finds a wife finds a good thing? Well, if I'm looking for a job, I look in the computer, I found the job I want, but does that mean I'm going to get it? Because I found it? I'm like, oh,
you have to be qualified.
Say it again.
You have to be qualified. And that is a process.
You have to be qualified. And what is it? What do you have to do to qualify? You have to
apply,
go ahead.
Submit, put on your best face, show up, bring your skills out, be aware of who you are and what you can bring to the job. Know how long you want to stay. Do you want to build a career here, or is this just a stepping stone?
Talk to me.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing? What is this? Are you planning on being with us for a while? Or is this just a stepping stone? Are you just coming in because you just need some money real quick?
You need experience. For your
right?
resume.
For your resume, right? Right? What you just said is the exact same thing. Take this lady's what she just said and put it in a relationship, because that's exactly it. That because you want to know, what is this, a quickie? You just trying to go to bed with me, right?
Right.
You know, because this is what I tell women. You are the employer. Us men, we're interested in trying to get the job. So that means if you're the employer, and it's the truth, you're the employer. When I ask women, how is it that you got married? They say, my husband asked me. No, that's not how you got married. That's part of it. But how you got married is because you said yes when he came to the interview. When he came to the interview, you interviewed him. So in order to interview somebody, you have to know what are your non-negotiable requirements, needs, and wants in your employment, in your business. This is your business. So you got to know business before you start hiring.
That part. So with that being said, especially because we're on King's Speak, let's get these men together a little bit. What can men do to welcome the idea of this interview process? Because there's a lot that we talk about when it comes to nature. Men need this, they're sowing their wild oats. Men, you know, I feel like men get a huge pass for being sexually active because that's just the way they are, blah, blah, blah. But I do think it's not such a terrible thing, because men can experience sex at a detriment as well. Men get their heart broken as well. Men are sharing energies with a bunch of women, and then they're not moving forward in life and don't know what's going on. And it's because of their habits and choices. So how can men kind of invite in the analogy of being the employee, so to speak, and submitting and including discipline and kind of making how do I say, kind of setting a path for himself, but when it comes to approaching the woman, like, is it so important for them to just be all over the place, or are there ways that men can reel it in and focus on what it is that they want? What disciplines and practices can they invite in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, men too have to realize, if you're really serious about a relationship, you have to do the same thing, man. You have to really, you know, when you're going into that interview, you really have to say, you know, hey, I really want this job. And if I really want this job, you have to apply and abide by the necessary things that a woman is looking for, or that woman is looking for, right? And one major critical thing is you got to be honest, man. You just got to be honest. You just got to be honest. Look, guys, be honest, because you never know what she will accept or won't. And if she doesn't, she may invite you, or she may introduce you to someone that's for you. She may say to herself, you're not for me, but I do have a friend that would love you. If you just be honest, because you have no idea when somebody says, okay, I'm cool. I'm glad you were honest about that. And even if she's not cool, she will remember you, that you were honest. 3 years later, she was like, oh yeah, you know, he was just so straight with me, you know. And I wonder now if he's, you know, ready to be in a committed relationship. So it's all about not being afraid, men, to be rejected. And now, why are men afraid to be rejected? You know, because it hurts.
It does hurt. And women get rejected too, and it does hurt.
When we get rejected, male or female, look, there's a certain part, our interior cingulate cortex, this is a certain part of our brain that's associated with pain. So when I hit my hand, so signals are sent up through my vagus and up to my ACC and to my amygdala. It tells me pain, pain, pain. Well, guess what? that same brain region in our brain is associated with emotional pain too. It's no different. That same region is triggered when we emotionally experience pain. So when we emotionally experience pain, it's the exact same kind of pain. So it really does hurt. It hurts. It really does hurt. So some of us try to avoid that pain, right? And so we lie, we're not truthful. And sometimes we lie and not truthful for some things that we might be embarrassed about or might be judged about, right? So that's why it's so important to go back to courtship, because it's important to get as much as information as you can. Because even if you detect that this person might not be truthful, might be giving good information, right? It's really important to figure out, why is this person not being truthful with me?
Right.
And you might find something out that is important. You might discover, oh, this is why he didn't want to disclose some private information, and so that's why it felt like he wasn't telling the truth, right?
I mean, I experienced that. One of the last guys I tried to date, we met online. It was so random, and I was just down for the phone conversation. And so we talked on the phone maybe for a couple of months. So, what are you doing? How are you doing? Da, da, da. So long story short, I come across a podcast and hear him talking about the 2 kids that he has. I never heard nothing about no kids. So I confront the situation, and yes, he was too embarrassed to tell me. But at that point, it became a deal breaker, because you didn't give me the opportunity to take in the full part of your life. So now I'm mad. I'm almost bitter at the kids. I don't even know, because it's just like, hey, here we were going down this path, and you didn't see me as important enough to let me know about your life. So
Right.
it's just, it's just really, I understand the why. However, I love that you brought up being honest, because women, we need that from you guys. You never know. I might have been down to have 2 little step babies, but now, since you done lied, I don't know what else you're going to lie about. And that doesn't make me feel safe. And I can't trust that, let alone talking that we ain't even got to the part of me giving over my body yet. Like, you think all of the stuff that you just explained that happens to us scientifically is going to happen and flow when you're like tense and afraid because you don't know if the person's lying or if they're going to do something to you, or if they're going to, we're all walking around with so much trauma. I feel like when it comes to dating, that PTSD, that emotional hurt that you were talking about. And it's just making things really complicated.
Yeah. And, I learned that years ago when I'm from Chicago. When I met this young lady that lived like down the street from my house. We were actually at a restaurant, and it was walking distance. And we met getting I believe it was getting a pizza together. And we had a wonderful conversation outside on the sidewalk. And when it was time to break up from the conversation, I asked her for a telephone number. And then I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a boyfriend?" And she said, "I have friends." And so it was up to me whether I want to be one of her friends. She said, "I have friends." And it was, me now thinking about when she said that, we were really young. I mean, she was a young lady when she said that to me, for her to was to be in that kind of state of mind at that age, to be honest to me and say, "I have friends," and when I finally called her, which was probably the next day, and she answered the phone and she said, "Hi, Ryeal. I have company right now. Can I call you back?"
That is just so.
But she told me she had friends.
Right.
And when I called, one of her friends were there.
Cool.
And I'm like, okay. She was honest, and I can't knock that, And I was cool with that. I was like, okay, cool. She called me back. Hey, Ryeal,
Yeah,
how
you'd
you
be
doing?
surprised how cool people are with things, but you got to give them the opportunity. I think you said that earlier in the conversation. Like, you have to be upfront and honest because, like I said, she could have had another homegirl for you. She
Yep.
could have been like, oh my God, me too. Or, there's so many similarities between us. So, yeah, being honest is such an opportunity because you never know what you're going to get from it. And I was even thinking to that guy, it's like, you're going to want to tell the person you want to date that you have children, especially if you're dating for marriage.
Give her an
Don't you want to date
opportunity
somebody
to
who
make
wants
a
your kid?
decision whether she wants to deal with you or not. Give her the opportunity. Dude, when you give her the opportunity, that's what makes you a man. That's what makes you a responsible human being.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you someone who appreciates you, because she says to herself, wow, he left it up to me to decide whether I want to deal with him or not, because he was honest with me. And he said, look, I just got to be honest with you right now, just in case, but I have 2 kids, and then you may say to yourself, okay, that's fine. Or for a man may say, okay, that's fine, because that's, like I said, it goes both ways, right? I remember a man coming into my mother's life, and it was 4 of us. And we were constantly graduating from grammar school to high school, from high school to college, going into different music trainings. The kids were constantly doing stuff where money had to come out his pocket, because I mean, he's in my mother's life. He married my mother,
Yeah.
right? With 4 kids. He married my mother with 4 kids.
Right.
Man, that was the biggest example in the world for me, to look at a man that made my mother happy, that came into my mother's life and made her happy, because she's not without a husband, without another partner. You know what I'm saying? Because as Maslow's laws, we all have a need to belong, right? Every living, breathing creature on this earth have a need to belong. We want to belong, right? No matter whether you straight or gay, we want to belong, right? So this man comes into my mom's life, and I'm like, wow, how could I knock a woman if she's just honest with me and says, hey, I got to let you know I have a child, and if I really like her, it's like, okay, I can't knock her for having the child, right? And if I like her, right? Because my moms would be like, what? You did what? This man taught me all kind of stuff. I mean, he taught me everything. I like my original father too as well.
Of course.
But this guy also taught me a lot, just in general about life and how to fix things in the house, because we renovated our house, and he was a contractor, so he knew all of that, and he taught me, how to do it, so I'm pretty handy still today because of the things he taught me, right? And again, it was 4 of us. So, imagine my mom's telling him, I got 4 kids. And
she
he's
was
like,
probably nervous and scared. I got friends with a couple of kids, a
absolutely.
couple of baby daddies, or whatever the case. And sometimes they feel like nobody's going to want me with all this baggage. But this right here is a testament to ladies too. Let's just be honest. If you got the kids, multiple baby daddies, this, that, or whatever, you evolve too. You grow too. Things happen. Some people are divorced, but that honesty allows for such more of a refreshing courtship process, because it has a fighting chance to actually survive because you know what you're dealing with. So hopefully that eradicates a lot of fear from people's hearts and eases some of that PTSD and trauma from being rejected. People are afraid to try again because that rejection sticks. Boy.
Absolutely. And so that's part of Max Rose. That's part of how you help your son. That's part of the conversations you have with your son to help him to become a better man, a mindful man. So when he's a little boy right now, you explain to him why it's important to treat women with respect, to be honest with women with respect, because you have to use the example of moms. You know, you have to use the example and say, would you want moms to feel like this? If you wouldn't want moms to feel like this, then, you know, I would love for you to also treat women with respect. And I think that's the responsibility of mothers when they have their sons, is to explain to them about motherhood, about womanhood, and about rejection and about hurt. You know, what you can do. This will hurt this young lady. If you do this, this will hurt her really bad. So if a man did that to me, it would hurt me really bad, you know. And you explain these things to the young man, well, early, because why it's important to do it early. Remember when I said it creates neural pathways in your brain. You know, the more you say things and the earlier you say things to a person and constantly say things, we grow neurons in our brain. And that's information. That's like little videotapes, right? So when we grow these little videotapes, it's gonna play. They're gonna play, you know, and they're gonna tell other ones, and they're gonna create more videotapes. So now you got all of these little videotapes in your brain as to, my mom's told me that I should treat women with respect. My mom's told me that I should be honest, and this is the reason why I should be honest, right? You know, really break it down to your son, you know. Why it's so important to do these certain steps. And by the time he grow up, he's going to remember that. He's definitely going to remember it. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I agree. Especially when you talk about the neural pathways and the bond between mother and son. That was perfectly said. And this kind of ties into the question. I have a couple questions in the chat, and it seems to be kind of one and the same almost, but it's directed to you, Dr. Simms. I've noticed that men suffer intense pressure to perform and to be active, even predatory, which is true. What can we do to raise men to feel masculine without demonstrating sexual prowess? And then, you know, kind of tied into that is how much male promiscuity is biological and how much is social pressure. So maybe you can address from a neuroscience, a scientific level, what that means for a man.
Yeah, and that's part of some of the part that I was saying, how you teach your little sons, right? How you teach your sons early on, and to let them know, you know, and you have to have conversations like this, because we don't have sexual conversations with the men. To let them know about their bodies and how easy it could be to see a woman and you get aroused and you want her, you know, how to control it, right? How to have respect in yourself, right? You let them know. You don't want to tell them, oh, you know, you're not going to be this type of, your male sexuality isn't like this. No, it is like this, but this is what you need to do when it's like this, right? And you teach them about sex education. That's just, you know, that's something that we just not getting, you know, in schools or from our males or from our moms. We need to talk about this to them. You need to teach them that this isn't about how many women you had sex with makes you feel masculine to your boys. You need to also explain to them your best friends are not going to be with you forever, right? But even if so, your best friends are not going to equal to disrespecting women. If they want to disrespect women, that's fine. But men, you know, explain to the young men before they get there what to look for when you go out as being a group thinker, because that's us peers, us kids. We try to want to feel I'm with you. I'm in the organization. I'm in the group. So what does the group do? This is what we do as a group. We go out and we have sex with so many women and we brag about it, right? And so now you accept it, right, in the group because you do what we do, right? So preparing a son that this is what's going to happen in your relationships with your male friends. This is what's going to happen. Males are going to, I mean, something that used to bug me so much, and I still experience this as an adult, as a male showing me women's pictures on their cell phones, that picture was only for him, right? So immature, So how do I feel? I don't feel comfortable, right? So that's my upbringing. So I don't feel comfortable you showing me something that I know that was for you. That was
Right.
not for you to show around for me. So now I got to think about, damn, if that was my sister, he would be going around showing pictures of my sister. So these are the things, moms, that you have to start explaining to your young men now. You have to start explaining that this is, you're going to experience, one of your friends is going to open up his phone and show you pictures of his girlfriend naked. You don't do that, because that's disrespectful. And how would you like right now today, if one of my boyfriends, I'm just saying, if mom is single, how would you like if one of my boyfriends took some pictures of me and put them around, and your schoolmates are passing it around on their cell phones of your mother? How would you feel? See, when you educate your son about these things and let them know that this is not about men, but how to feel masculine, treating her with respect, opening up the door, showing her respect at a young age, she will always remember you. Even if she doesn't want you now, she'll think about you 20 years later and try to skip trace you and try to find you. She was like,
Let
girl,
me
this
let me see
man,
if he's on Facebook.
yeah, let me see if he's on Facebook. That happened to me. It was too late, but I had somebody sending me flowers and everything. And I was like, who is this? I was like,
Oh,
who is this? But this was somebody in the letter. It was like they realized what kind of guy I was, and I was like, wow, that had never happened to me before. Heck, I never had flowers. I never had somebody send me flowers. I was like, wow. But this, it's and that's what a woman will remember and say, now that was a real man.
right.
Um,
And I know
just
it can be so challenging because you speak to high school students, so this is amazing. But I definitely know like what you're saying, because one of the other chats I had with men, they were talking about how much their growth in emotional intelligence and vulnerability and things like that come from brotherhood. So if their boys are doing it and then one of their boys gets married or is more evolved or wants to become a priest or whatever, and they start dropping some nuggets, then the homeboys that are around, they glean from that, and then they all come up. But what do you do when your friend is one of the ones who is like, oh, acting like this, like that? In high school, it's definitely hard to just, well, I'm not going to be friends with that person. I'm not going to hang out with that person. High school is cliquey. You're young. And I'm not sure when
you want to be accepted.
you want to be accepted. So I don't know how strong some are and some aren't, how strong adolescents and teens could be in walking away from situations, especially if they feel pressured to be there. So, I mean, do you think these are principles that people can digest in middle school and before, or like,
Oh,
I mean, there's going to
absolutely.
be some trial and error.
Absolutely. But that is the reason why you should do it early on. That's the reason why you do it early on, because it's before they actually experience it, because they're gonna experience it. So you give it to them as early as you can. Now, is it too late because they're in high school, because they're adolescent right now? No, you explain to them now. You explain to them about the disrespect. You explain to them about the hurt. You explain to them about, you hurt a woman, disrespect a woman, show a woman's picture on your cell phone to everybody. But think about when you become 30. Think about when you become 35. Think about when you have little kids, what you did to somebody, and that's going to haunt you, especially if you don't get a chance to tell her, I'm sorry and I apologize. And you can't use the excuse because I was young, right? So when you teach these young men early on about respect, right, and how to respect a woman and the consequences of disrespecting a woman, this is going to haunt you for the rest of your life. I know some people that, because they bring it up, they be like, yeah, I remember I did something to this little girl, and I had guys watching us, and they came in the room, you know, imagine the psychological damage that you did to her. So that's important to even explain that. And you said something early on, the post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, that you create in a human being when you do that. And you said something earlier too, emotional intelligence. You know, it's important to instill that into a child early on, you know, because they get it. Like I said, if you give it to them now at a young age, it's going into the head, but we usually don't say it. We usually just let them have fun with their friends, their kids. Sometimes when your son comes in, he's 17, 16 years old, sometimes he's come in, sit down, have a talk. Just have a relationship talk with him. Like, you know, if you got a girlfriend, how would you treat your girlfriend? Have a relationship talk. Sometimes we don't have relationship talks with our kids. One man is afraid to have relationship talks with your son because you only think it's the man's job. But if there's no father in the house, you can have a relationship talk. Actually, it's even better that you have a relationship talk with your son. Women, it's even better having a relationship talk with your son. I'd rather you have a relationship talk with your son, me personally, than your father, because your father might be like, dude, yo, you know, now let me
Yeah, you
now
gotta
let
do
me
this,
tell you what
son. It's
you
gonna
can
be,
do,
we don't know.
because not every guy is mature. So he may be telling his son what to do and how to, you know, how to get over.
And you
But
know
a
what? What's
mother's not going to
beautiful?
do that.
Yeah. And you know what's beautiful about this conversation and why I felt like it was so important to talk to you, because any mothers that see this with sons can go forward in a unique way, because a lot of the stuff you just shared is not common knowledge at
That's right.
all. So how do you find yourself in a position where you can have a healthy conversation when you were stepping over your own toes to get to where you're at, and maybe you don't have full clarity on how to, you know, relay certain things. So this kind of brings me to, I definitely want to talk about cheating, but before that, what do you say about the Bible and religion and spirituality, and how do you feel like the way a lot of us have experienced a lot of church hurt, a lot of us were raised in the church, it may not be everybody, but for those that were, how do you feel the Bible commingles with science, and how do we wrap that around our brains without inviting in the guilt and shame? Like, do you see purpose in why the Bible says wait till marriage to have sex and this and all that other stuff? And do you see where people fall into guilt and shame? And do we see the science? How do all three of those mesh? And like, what do you think about the religious aspect of sex and attraction in the Bible and how we're supposed to be? Because I guess I'm asking because I was raised Christian, and because my parents didn't really talk to me much about sex or anything like that, but I felt like sex was bad. To be sexy was bad. To enjoy femininity in a certain way was bad, because you know what, there were certain clothes I couldn't wear. My dad was upset about or whatever because men were looking at me. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is a cute top. All my friends are wearing this top. I got it from Fashion News with all the other girls. I'm not thinking about no man, like arousing a man, but sex is bad. There's so much shame and guilt around it. So how do you feel about religion, science, sex, and what it does to us psychologically?
Yeah. What I have debates with other scientists, and what I try to explain to ministers that may be afraid for me to come in their church to speak, is that science is merely the discovery of what God created. So all I'm telling you is about what God created, that it's all God, right? And man has added on to what God did not say or create.
Talk about it.
Right?
That's
and
true.
We teach our people in church, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that, and that's not what the Bible says, right? Because it's, you're translating it as to sound like that's what it says, right? And it's really simple of what it's really saying. And when we talk about like sex, the things that I'm talking about, why you need to take your time or not even at all, or wait until you get married, is the very reason as when we say you get caught up and now you're in a relationship that is just based on sex only. It's not based on chemistry when it comes to being a sapiosexual, you know, being attracted to the person's intellect, right? And you didn't take out time to really get to know this person. And neither one of us was honest. So we're in a relationship of unhonesty. And this is one of the major reasons why you need to take your time and be careful. And yes, there are some people that have met and had sex on the first night and end up, you know, in a relationship and end up marrying, and it worked. Yes. You know,
Exceptions to the rule, of course.
yeah, you know, you had good chemistry and everything, and that was totally awesome. But majority, when we're just talking about the laws of nature, it's important to make sure it's fun. The fun thing is let me really do my homework and let me really truly interview this person. And I don't mean you have to go down the list to him. You don't have to hold the list in your hand, but it is important to have the list. You know, I know a lot of people say, don't have a list. You don't need to have a list. I hear that all the time. And I know what they mean. I understand what they mean when they say that. Don't have a list. Just let it happen naturally. One thing I want people to understand when it comes to nature and science is that nothing happens naturally without assistance.
Okay.
It doesn't rain we think it rains naturally, but there's a process before it rains.
Right. You know, it's like just what came to my mind when you said that is almost like a faith without works is dead. Like I can have faith all day, but if I'm in the bed all day, what am I believing for? What am I working towards? How
Absolutely.
am I putting into nature, abundance, life, divine, faith, whatever, to
Yes.
join into my action to actually birth this thing? There is an action needed for the natural reaction to push it forward.
Absolutely. 100%. You said it. That's it. You said it. You said it. What I mean, you can have faith all day, but if you're not implementing your strategy, you're just imagining. You're just using your imagination. But imagine what you could do if you implement that imagination.
If you were intentional.
That's right. Absolutely. Just imagine. So
might have to rewatch this and put that one in my own pocket and do some work today.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's important to understand the whole process that this is all God. That's why we feel ashamed sometimes too. You know, that's why some men aren't committed. This is important too. This is another one of my research and hypothesis. You know, sometimes men aren't committed in a relationship because they're not realizing it, because they know that they're not ready to be in a relationship. And this is why it's important for you women not to force him to be in a relationship. It's because spiritually, he may not be going to church every Sunday, but you know, if any death situation about to happen to us, we say, "Oh God," right?
No matter what you believe in, I feel like God
we call on God. We call on God.
Yes.
Even when you're having sex and it's good, you call on God, right?
Yeah, it's a meditative sound. Yeah.
That's right. It's our connection. Yeah. So some men that's not ready to be in a committed relationship know that they're not ready to be in a committed relationship and know that they will hurt you. They know that they will have several other women, right? Because it's the fear of them of getting married, knowing that I won't be committed. And
I
that
received
fear.
that because I've had a couple of men tell me, you're too good for me. The first man that told me, I was engaged to him, and I stayed, and it took me 5 years to figure out, okay, you're right. The second time I heard it was probably about 6 months ago, and I took it for face value. If you see that, if you think that you want to say, if any man tells you, oh, you're too good for me, or he's not ready to,
Believe him.
believe him. I didn't
Believe
know.
him.
I
Don't
thought,
try to
like,
force
but he
him.
loves me, and we love each other, and we're friends, and he's cute, and all of the stuff that don't matter.
Yeah. Don't
I get
force it,
stuck.
because he's telling you the truth. He's telling you,
telling
he's
the
like,
truth.
no, because we, just think about it. Just think about, human beings have a natural fear anyway. I mean, otherwise we'd be dead. We would do stuff that we wouldn't be afraid of. We would play Russian roulette just for the heck of it with a gun. But we fear the fact that if I do this, I can die. Right. And so don't push a relationship, because some men out there actually are like, I just don't want to hurt somebody right now, so I'm not going to be in a committed relationship. And when they are ready, because people ask, well, how do I know that this person loves me? Is when that person is committed to you. When that person is really in a committed relationship with you, that person's ready. We know when we're ready. We know when we say, hey, I want a wife, which leads to, if you don't mind, I mean, no. What's your next question? Because I don't want to go.
No, because you were talking about commitment, so I'm ready to talk about some cheating. So what happens?
Yeah,
when
that's
you
what I was gonna say. Which also,
you feel like you're ready. Yeah, tell me. And
yeah,
how does that get introduced? How does that play a part?
yeah. Which also leads to what we have to really understand is what my quote is: there is no excuse, because there's always a reason why.
Right.
There's always a reason why. So when we say there's no excuse to have an affair, I like to use the word affair when I'm talking about marriage. Cheating is when you're talking about girlfriend, boyfriend, because you're actually playing a game and you cheat on it.
Gotcha.
Right. So when you're married and infidelity, you actually have an affair. We have to ask, did you get married to actually lose your wife, possibly lose your car, lose your house, and lose your kids? Did you do this? Were you aware that this was going to happen to you before you got married? Woman or man, right?
Right.
And it's important to know why and how it happened when we had this affair. Why? What's going on? What happened in the relationship? Because, like, again, it is no excuse, because it's always a reason why. And what's important is to find out what is the why in that. And
you find out the why before it happens, or the why after?
It's important to find out the why before and after, because reason why it's important to find out after is because you can get into another relationship, even if you, as the woman, say, I've had clients where she mentioned that her husband, both of her husbands had an affair on her. So what we found was, I mean, because when we think about affair, we think straight that, oh, that no good man. But we also have to go back to being honest. We have to be honest, not only to people. Sometimes in our lives, we have to be honest to self as well, because it's so important to be honest to self. So when you go into another relationship, that's why it's important to be honest to self. Is when you go into another relationship, you're not going to repeat it. What is it that I did to contribute to this affair? because we when we think about affairs, we think about cheating. We think about girlfriend, boyfriend. Oh, girl, he cheated on you. He was. We're talking about affairs. We're talking about somebody who have a wife, who have a mortgage, a car note, 3 kids. You lose it. Now you got to visit your kids if you can.
My God.
You're still paying on the house. You're still paying car notes. You're living in the YMCA. I mean, back in the times, right?
Right.
You're living in a small apartment, studio apartment. You destroyed your life. What happened? What really happened in your life that you allowed this to happen? And there's several things. Oh my God. I mean, there's just several reasons, right?
From the way you talked about, yeah.
Go ahead. What was you gonna say?
From the way you talked about our initial attraction as men and women and all of the things that go on
Yeah.
in sense and smell, that alone tells me
That
there's
alone.
75 million ways that cheating can be introduced. Or
That
affairs.
alone. That alone. Hey, look, we just heard something recently. I probably won't say their name, but I'll use another couple. I'll use another couple as an example. And I would like to do another show on it, but I'm just gonna briefly talk about this other couple. Schwarzenegger and his wife.
Oh, yeah. Remember
Right?
that. Let's talk about it.
Now, let's talk about biology, how that ended up happening. Everything I talked about today, you're going to see how it all comes together. Okay. So we have a woman living in our home. And she's not a bad looking woman, right? She's taking care, she's cleaning, she's communicating with me, right? I'm talking to her, I'm joking with her, I'm being intellectual with her, right? You're going out with us, you're going to the movies with us, you're going to the amusement park with us, right? I'm also smelling you every day. I'm also smelling when you ovulate every day. You're walking by me when you're ovulating. When you ovulate, remember when I said when you ovulate, when I smell you, I also release a chemical called androstenone. You smell the androstenone. You think I'm funny. You think I'm intelligent. You like being around me. You think I'm a great father. Sapiosexual, you are attracted to my intellect. We like the same things. We like the same shows. We share this house. We eat together. All of this is just bringing you together. And when we talk about the biology, I did a post about this, and I did a second one because I had to let them know. They said, "Oh, you're using it as an excuse." No, this is one thing you have to realize is that not everybody's willpower is equally the same.
I have to tell my dad that all the time. Because my dad is a really good man. And when I tell him some of the stuff that goes on, he's like, I don't understand why people just can't make choice. I'm like, Dad, not everybody's as strong as you are.
Nobody is as strong as you are. See, that's how we judge.
They're not willing to work at it.
Or they haven't, or they don't have the skills to. And so that's why we become judgmental. That's why I teach the science. Do you understand why I teach the science? Is so you can become less judgmental, so you can understand why it happened. There's 2 girlfriends right now that are no longer friends anymore. But they don't realize, she doesn't realize, is when your girlfriend broke up with her boyfriend, you asked her to come over to the home every day. Every day you call her and say, "Girl, what you doing? Come on over." Girl, what you doing? Come on over. Girl, we going to the amusement park. You want to go with us? Girl, we going to the movies. You want to go with us? Tomorrow, we going to dinner. We're going to this really nice restaurant. You want to go with us? Homeboy's telling jokes. He's talking intellect. What do you think is happening? Just by the laws
in love with my man.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about an excuse. We're saying, look, you're constantly bringing her around. Yeah. You're constantly bringing, or, this happens both ways. The guy, you constantly have your best friend dude over, right? Check this out. You have your dude over all the time, but you constantly disrespecting your woman. Guess what starts to happen? Your dude starts feeling sorry for her.
He wants to
rescue. Because every day he's saying to himself, man, why you keep disrespecting her like this? Girl, didn't I tell you to put ketchup on my hamburger? What you thinking about? This hamburger ain't done. Would you cook this hamburger? Right? Because he's trying to be all tough and masculine in front of his partner. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think he's saying to himself? This is wrong, dude. You're embarrassing her in front of me. Right? He starts having feelings about her. Rescue. Because he wants her not to experience what she's experiencing, that pain. So he wants to do good to her. And this isn't like he wants to do bad to him. He's not even thinking about him. He's not trying to do bad to him. He's not even thinking that. Humans not thinking. They're thinking, I want to do good to you. I want to do good to you because you're being treated bad. And next thing you know, she knows that he got up and went in the kitchen and washed his plate. Homeboy's not washing his plate, but she knows he got up and washed his plate, and probably washed hers that was in the sink. And she says, "John, you didn't have to do that." He said, "Yeah, I know." What do you think she feels? She's like,
warm and fuzzy.
Warm and fuzzy. So
appreciated.
And see all of the reasons I'm getting to? Appreciated. Complimenting, affirmation. You go to work and you're getting all of these confirmations from your guy assistant. He's saying, wow, Donna, you really hit that meeting. Oh my God, you really did great. I'm just so amazed about you. I really admire your intellect. You are just totally awesome at your job, what you do. Oh my God, you are just so awesome. Wow, great job, great job. Tomorrow, wow, Donna, what kind of perfume is that? That is really good. Next day, Donna, your makeup is awesome. What kind of lipstick is that? Do you ever get that at home when you get home to your husband?
So what is it that people just fall into routine and it creates these cracks in spaces? Is it
you get comfortable?
It feels like there's just so much.
You get comfortable in your comfort zone and you stop giving what each other need in order to keep a vitalized, harmonious, cohesive working relationship. Look, when you remember the people that get on top of mountains and they jump off the mountain with a parachute, right? Before they jump off the mountain, they have this altered state of consciousness from this dopamine, this anticipation. So they're getting dopamine right now because they're about to jump. So they're hyper. Woo. As soon as they jump, they get this serotonin rush when they get to the bottom. The serotonin rush is when we feel good, when we do something for each other, when we do something for someone. When you do something for someone, you get a rush of serotonin in your body. You get a shot of it, and it makes you feel good, right? So you want to go back up and do it again, right? But when you do it so many times, it starts to die down.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do now as a group that jumps off the mountain? We go and we look for another mountain that's going to give us that altered state of consciousness and that euphoria, right?
Yep.
So it's called novelty. So imagine both couples and only one couple want to add novelty into the relationship, doing new things, different things. Going, just get in the car and drive wherever. You don't have to, let's not say where we're going. Let's just get in the car and drive for 2 hours and have a conversation in the car. Let's take our cell phone, go to the beach and watch a concert on it in the parking lot at the beach, right? Novelty, doing different things, not being complacent. Did I say that right? Complacent? Not just in your comfort zone. You come home from work, you drink your beer, you look at your show, and then you go to bed. Routine. That's a routine.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, I just want to do something. I want to do things. I want to. So imagine those people jumping off the mountain and everybody else is saying, I'm going to another mountain, but you are staying. That's somebody saying, all it takes is somebody else becoming another mountain to the significant other, right?
You're gonna get FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, there's this new big, cool, awesome mountain. I want to go. You don't want to go? Well, I do. Like,
and all it takes is somebody else telling you something that you're not hearing, that you're not getting, vice versa. You know, if it's the male and the female is like, wow, you know, I love what you did at the meeting. That was totally awesome. You know, I love your ideas. Your ideas is like totally awesome. You know, I love the suits that you wear. You look so nice in that suit today. But when you're at home, do your wife ever say any of those things to you?
Right.
She says nothing to you. She gives you no affirmation whatsoever, right?
Right.
She tells you nothing about you. She's not your cheerleader, or vice versa. Remember, this is not just a man thing or a woman thing. This is a human thing.
Yeah.
This is a human thing. You know, I told you about what I like, and I told you my love languages, and you know, not just the love languages that's in the book, but the love language that you discover that's not even there. You know that person's love language, but you refuse to give it to her anymore. You know what she likes, and you refuse to even do it anymore. You just don't even do it anymore. And she notices that you don't do it anymore. She know you don't do it anymore. Because, I mean, if you did it just one time, just out of the 2 years, you did it that one time. Imagine, just look how she glows and go, oh my God. Oh my God, you haven't did this in so long, but she's so happy. She's going crazy and everything because this is what she really loves, dude. And you hold her from it.
Right.
You suppress her from it. Right. And you stop it. So then we wonder why look, all it takes is for somebody to know, like, just say what you say, what you really love in a conversation of people. And that one guy that really likes you, you're like, what if I send those to her job? Now, remember, her husband used to give them to her. He stopped, but homeboy, he sent those flowers. And she get those flowers, certain kind of flowers, not the roses or but those certain kind, right, that she likes.
Right.
And she says, oh, my husband sent my husband sent me and then she opens up the card and it's not her husband.
And you already got other things open, excitement. There's like all the stuff that goes in on our bodies. You know, it could be a little bit meditative. Then you open it and you're like in this state and you're seeing somebody else's gifting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have to think about the things when it comes to, we have to stop in our minds thinking about you're no good, you this, you that. We got to think about why. There's no excuses, but why. It's so important to understand why it happens. Now, I can give you this one. you know, because a lot of women want to hear this one only, but that's why we can't concentrate on that one, because when we concentrate on just this one only, when we get into a marriage, we think we can do anything and everything, and then we wonder why our husband cheated on us, because we're thinking he will only cheat on us if I do this one thing. And we can't think about that. We can't say just this one thing, you know, like, you know, he's a dog and he's this and that. We can't think like that. I mean, you know, okay, let's just talk about the dog guy. What is the dog guy? Where's the guy who is a dog, who's out cheating on his wife? Again, why? Not that it's just not that it's an excuse, but why is the dog, right? The one that we call the dog, right? Sometimes when I mention to men, be honest to yourself and don't be allowed to force yourself into a marriage that you know you're not ready for. Don't get into a marriage that you know you're not ready for. Now, check this out. Now, you're a handsome guy, and you know you can pull at least 85% of women when you walk into a club, when you walk into the get-together, when you walk into the luncheon. You know when you walk in, the women are looking at you. You know good and well you're a 10. You know you're a 10. You use the fact that you a 10 because you want to kick it with as many as women as you want to right now, you know it. But then you meet this young lady and you have these sparks, and then these sparks are like totally awesome. You're like, oh my God, oh man. And then you're like, yeah, let's get married. You know, so you get married in like 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe a year. But what you did not do, you didn't work on something that you created in your brain for years and years and years. You just think you went cold turkey. Nobody just goes cold turkey. Nobody just says, I stopped drinking. Stop it just like that. It takes time, right?
Correct.
A process. Nothing happens naturally without what? Assistance, right? So you know good and well in your brain, you're used to having more than one girl. You're used to having more than one girl. Your body is used to having more than one girl. Your body yearns for different women. Like if you know a person, a woman or a man, ask them to watch the same porn person every day. They're not going to watch the same porn person every day. That same porn person is not going to stimulate them.
No, they know what's coming. They've seen it before. It looks the same. We're over it.
They're gonna want another one and another one. So they're used to seeing more than one couple, right? So you're used to having more than one woman in your life. So until you work on that, knowing that you could be with one woman, then you make the commitment. Some of us jump into the marriage without knowing if I can do this. So what happens? You marry, and then what kicks in? The yearn.
The dog comes home. But you know, that's funny because speaking of, Devon Franklin has a book, you know, what was it? What you need to know about men and women need to know, whatever. I forgot what it was, but he talks about the dog all the time. And what I could admire about him and what I definitely hope to find in a man or somebody is somebody who's doing the work before I get there. I may be an inspiration for something, but I don't believe that a man is going to be able to fully 180 this thing just upon meeting me. He has to have his own standard. He has to be in touch with his own issues. Max in the chat said, wounded men, childhood trauma. That's kind of what I think about when a guy's good looking and he's going in and he's trying to all of this with all these girls. It tells me, in my opinion, that there's a void that he needs to fill. He doesn't feel good enough in a certain section of his life. I don't know what, because I don't know the man, but at the same time, it's like, this is the work that I hope men are doing on themselves even before they find the woman. Because even for someone like me, I'm doing the work on myself. So when God turns the heart of a king towards me, I'll even be able to recognize him. Because if I'm still walking in my wounds and trauma, I'm probably not even going to be able to see the man myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said it too. And Rose said it too. Remember when we said earlier on, because I want to make sure people understand that I'm not just using one reason. Remember when I said several reasons? So what we just did was talked about other reasons, right? Other reasons. And the reason why it's important for us to know other reasons, just like what Rose just said and what you just said, right? Hoping that you are working on yourself before you even meet me, right? And childhood, even like, why do I go for the tough guy, right? Why do I go for the tough guy? And I'm still going to go back. This is the tangential, all right? But I'm going to go back to that. So remind me to go back to it. But even the tough guy, why do I go to the tough guy? Why do I go to the gangster, right? You know, Babyface Nelson, Al Capone, they all had women. They all had a wife or a woman, right? So what's in them to want to be with a gangster, want to be with a thug, right? It could be from their childhood, it could be from their childhood of seeing what their moms had, right? It could be from their dad treating them really bad. They could see their dad beating on their mother. This means he's in control. This means he's a man. This means not allowing my moms to get over on him, keeping my mother in her place. You know, us women, we are also, remind me about women who say that quote, right? You know, I need a man to keep me in my place. You should never, ever say that. And you should never say that to a guy. But when we see that, we associate that with feeling safe. Right? And when we have a gangster type guy, I really feel safe because ain't nobody gonna bother me. Nobody's gonna touch me because my thug boyfriend will shoot you. He's in a gang, you know. And I'm not talking against gangsters. I'm not talking against them. I'm talking about the mentality of how a woman may feel and where she gets this from, right? And why she feels safe. Why do you think the majority of single women and black women, majority white women, some black women, single black women, voted for Donald Trump? Because he came across as, I'm going to protect you. Because we're dealing with the Iran and Iraq and the war and all that stuff. And he's coming, I'm going to do this and I'm gonna, right? So even though they heard all the crap about him, remember, all the stuff came out before they voted. You still voted for him because he came across as that tough thug type guy, and I'm going to make you feel safe.
Right.
He's going to protect us. Right. So, yes, I lost the train of thought when I said it's a tangential, and I need to go back to, because I gave that example, so I can go back to and I should have told you what it is so you can remind me.
I know, I remember the tangential.
Right. So, but we don't use it as an excuse. It's not an excuse. This is something that actually is real when we're talking about affairs, when we're talking about, you know, really having major affairs. And the reason why, you might ask too, why am I making it different between boyfriend, girlfriend, and husband and wife? Again, it goes back to fearing God. Because when we get married, we know we're making a spiritual commitment.
Right.
Even if we're not going, if we're not a church goer, we know, men know, you're about to get married. You're not supposed to have an affair, right? You're not supposed to beat on your woman. You're not supposed to hurt the kids. We know our rights and wrongs. We know what this marriage is supposed to be, right? So just that fear alone, when we get married, we know all of our rights and our wrongs, right?
Yeah.
And that's why some men is like, oh, I'm not. I don't want to make that commitment. No, I'm not ready.
Yeah, because it's a sacred covenant. But I feel like sometimes those men that aren't ready to make that commitment, those be the worst ones, because they're running around here with their needs, and depending on how they need to fill them, it looks different. So if we invite the science in and everything that you were talking about into a situation with a man who knows he's not ready for commitment, but yet is pursuing women anyway, how would you suggest men can, tone that down? Because I'll give a quick example. My ex-fiance, he was kind of like that. And this was a long time ago, but, he cheated on me a lot, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, it took about a decade for this man to slide back in my DMs and apologize and tell me how much him hurting me, he was really hurting himself as well. So how do we explain to a grown male how to reel it in when it comes to getting his sexual needs taken care of if he has no intention of being a husband? Like, I mean, sometimes I feel like guys, I ain't gonna, if you don't believe enough in your future to believe that what you're doing now can be of detriment to your future, how do you navigate around that, or how do you share with men like that they need to invite more discipline into their sex life, I guess?
Yeah.
To keep them from, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to bring to a male's attention of what's your goals in life. And
so
what
it's
is
good for us to ask them what their goals are.
Yeah. Well, for him to also ask himself, what is your goal? To ask yourself, what is your goal? What does it take for your goal to happen? Right. And to also learn from woman. Sometimes, woman, she's like, hey, look, my goal is to get my degree, start my own business, and then I'm ready to get married, and we have to think about that too. What's your goals besides just, having a woman or having sex, because the sex is going to be there. Right. And again, it goes back to, if you have your sexual needs, then it's really so important when you have your sexual needs, when you meet a woman, you got to hook up with a woman who understands your sexual needs. And that's when you get
the same itch to scratch.
The same itch. Because she's like, look, I'm not trying to be in a serious relationship. I'm trying to, I have goals. I'm trying to finish school. I'm working on my entrepreneurship. Right. And we can hook up every once in a while, every week or two. I give you a call, you give me a call, but at least the both of them are honest about it. But it still can get caught up. You still can get caught up. She can get caught up too, mainly as well.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about these chemicals again, right?
That's what I'm saying. So we love dancing around things, but I love sharing with people there is so much freedom and boundaries.
Yeah.
It's not just don't have sex because the Bible said. I know you want to define it, but relax. Right. There's freedom and boundaries, because even with the situation you just shared, sure, it could be two people that in the beginning are like, oh, I'm not looking for nothing. But somebody's going to catch feelings because of all the science that you explained.
Absolutely.
And so now they don't know why they're all caught up with somebody when it's not what they were looking for. And now we got another entanglement.
There you go. Entanglement. Absolutely. Because look, again, you're so right. The more time you spend with the person, the more you're going to discover about that person, what you like.
Yeah.
Look, man, you're going to discover stuff. Look, we we all have something that we like about each other and friends and everything. But if it's a constant, You, I like Green Machine. Well, I don't know if I should advertise the name. Sorry. Or maybe you can call them and ask them to be a sponsor. But
Right.
but I like the certain kinds of them, But the more I like it, I end up what? I end up loving it, right?
Yes. Is that Whole Foods?
Huh?
Is that Whole Foods?
This is a Green Machine with spinach, kale, and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah. I think because
Yeah.
Whole Foods, they have a Green Machine with spinach and kale and all that. But yes,
Okay.
yes. You make your
And
body feel good. You notice how
you feel
clear
good.
you
You always feel good around that person. I remember now, hey, what does a comedian do? What I call comedians doctors, right? Because, when they make us laugh, they make us release serotonin and other things. They make us feel good, right? That's why laughter is really good. You can even get a degree in good psychology and laughter psychology, right?
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's really important to.
You were talking about comedy, how comedians.
Well, it's really important to understand how that person makes you laugh.
Right.
Right. And you're around that person all the time.
Yeah. This is all very complicated. I can definitely see why the world is in the state that it's in. I definitely feel like we've veered away from marriage a lot. Like it doesn't seem cool anymore. I'm an 80s baby. When I grew up, everything was like family. It's so cool. Like siblings, mom, dad, da, da, da. But now it's like baby mama, baby daddy. Everything is like so different. All in the name of freedom, my body, my choice. I'm free sexually.
Right.
I can do all of that. I don't need a man. Like there's so many ideas that have been introduced and that we're all eating on. And I can definitely feel the change and the shift. And I'm just hoping by bringing conversations like this where we can all learn about ourselves, because I don't think as humans we've evolved out of needing love and partnership. I don't think it's that. I just think the messaging that we're getting can sometimes be confusing. But I think the things that you shared right here, if you really take this to heart and give yourself the opportunity to learn something new about yourself, I believe it's valuable to head towards the road to a fruitful relationship, because it's even helping me. There's guys that I'm attracted to and there's this and that, but at the same time, I generally don't let my attraction get the best of me because I know there's more, but I had to learn that. So maybe if you can hear this now and kind of see how our bodies work, you can avoid some of the heartache that comes with being casual and careless.
Right.
I mean, you can be open and vigilant at the same time.
Absolutely.
So,
And honesty, man, that's like the key.
Yes, that was a really good point. I can't wait to chop up this into some real good points, because it's everything.
Yeah, that's the total key, man. It's just, and again, it's just fun. It's fun being honest.
Yeah.
It's fun being honest, because you got to think about like thousands and millions of people on this earth. Somebody is going to say, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm cool with that."
Great.
And you'll be shocked. You'll be like, "Huh? What?"
Like, oh, yes.
Oh,
I'm high.
You okay? You okay with this? Like,
right.
Yeah, I'm fine with this. I think the same. I think exactly like, yes, I think just like that. Wow. Okay. Right. You just give the person an opportunity to choose whether they want to deal with you or not.
And isn't that what you want in the first place? I feel like it's our ego that says it needs to be a different way. Sometimes I feel like it's been both ways. I feel like there's been men who have pursued me out of ego. I'm the new girl, the girl from California, or the girl from, or it just looks a certain way. And I've certainly been the same person too. Like, oh, he's tall and fine. Like, I want to see if I'm attracted. If I can get him, then. So we're all doing it, and we're operating sometimes out of a sense of our ego. But I'd love for us to just get to the heart of things and do the heart work it
Yeah.
takes so we can just relax and be fruitful and not so uptight and offended and on defense mode and, you know, in survival all the time. You mentioned how, you know, if we feel pain, it goes to a certain part of our brain and we remember it. But if we're holding on to that memory, we're walking around tight, offended, and,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, all the time, just on that reflex, like, oh, oh. And I feel like there's a lot of people going through that, but yet trying to get their needs met at the same time. So it's a mess out here.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I love you spending so much time with me today. Like, this was so great and powerful. Thanks to the chat. Thanks, Max Rose, for all of your input. But before we go, do you just have one, well, you've already shared a million, but just one little thing you want to, you know, wrap it up for the people that maybe that they can take home and think about or self-reflect on in their journals. And then also like where to find you on social media and what you have coming up next. So we can support you.
One quick thing is preparing yourself is to prevent repairing yourself.
That's so true. My God. Repairing yourself is so you can prevent.
Yeah, repairing yourself is to prevent repairing yourself. You know, make sure you know, like just like what you said earlier, to tell men, practice on everything, you know, before you even meet me. You know, men, if you are ready to be in a committed relationship and you know that you're tired of being with several women and you want to settle down and you want to have a family, then before you meet that young lady, practice on not having so many women in your life first. You know, recondition your behavior, recondition your brain, because that's what your brain is used to. Your brain is conditioned to have that all the time. So once you know you've reconditioned your brain, then go out and venture into the relationship arena and try to find someone. And you know that you don't have to worry about, I'm going to want another female, I'm going to want another male, you know, I mean, vice versa too, you know, and you know, you're ready. So at least it minimized. But like I said, there's so many other reasons for cheating, for having affairs, you know. And that's what I was going to say too. The reason why cheating versus the word cheating versus having an affair, infidelity, is when we're boyfriend, girlfriend, we're actually playing marriage, right? And we're doing everything that married people do in your boyfriend, girlfriend relationship. But a boyfriend cheating, a boyfriend's guilt is different than a married man's guilt. A married man's guilt know that he really hurt his family, not just his wife, but he knows he hurt his kids. He knows he hurt his mother-in-law, his father-in-law. He probably hurt his own mother, his own father, who really loved the wife, right? You hurt sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws. You hurt a lot of people. So his guilt is totally different than a boyfriend, girlfriend guilt. That's why it's easier for a boyfriend, girlfriend. It's easy for him to cheat. He's not thinking, he's not catching himself. He's like, this is just a girlfriend. It's not my wife.
You know what? I've actually opted out. I'm not going to do boyfriend, girlfriend anymore. I've opted out. Now, for me, it's just straight up courtship.
Yeah.
You can be my friend. And if you see something else, you can submit your request. And if I receive that, then we can go. It has to be a courtship thing. I'm not about to be nobody's girlfriend for no, because you're right. It's almost a cheap experience at this point. It was fine when I was younger, but I'm a grown woman.
Yeah, when you're young. I mean, the whole purpose of getting to know each other is for a different goal. My whole purpose of getting to know you, not to be your girlfriend.
Correct.
What is your purpose? What's your purpose for this dating? And that's why it's important. We are afraid. When I say women think, they ask me all the time, so should I mention this married stuff to him? I might chase him away. Then let him go.
Let him run.
Let him run. Celebrate that he ran. Celebrate that he ran.
Yep.
If you mention something about marriage and he runs, celebrate that he ran. You're an adult now. You're not a kid anymore. You can't play these games. Oh, I'm afraid to tell him what my goal is. My goal of dating is to get married. If that scares you, if you think I'm desperate, if you think I'm thirsty because I'm mentioning this conversation, then you can go ahead and run, because that's my goal.
And not only that, but for the men watching, when women say that, that doesn't mean we want to marry you. So
right. That didn't mean, I'm not talking about you. I don't even know you yet.
I don't know you. Relax.
I'm telling you my goal. I'm telling you my goal. And if you are afraid and think, because that's what we taught. We like, oh man, she desperate. She looking for a husband. She desperate. Any woman who's, and you got these relationship experts out here, telling people that, and thirsty and all of that. Look, man, we're talking about God. We're talking about God. And I can come back and we can talk about that later, but God's an entrepreneur. He's in business, right?
Yeah.
God is an entrepreneur.
Yes,
he's in
I
business.
agree.
Look, 151 people die every day. 360 people are born every day. God makes a profit of about 209,000 out of the 360,000. So out of the 151,000 people that die every day, God is in business to generate people. We as entrepreneurs, we're in business to generate wealth, right? Money. So we're hardwired to come together and to procreate.
Right.
Because we work for God. We're his employees.
Part of the business plan.
We're part of his business plan. So when you tell another person and they're against that, they think you're crazy. They think you're desperate. They think you're thirsty. Those are all things we just created. Those are the craps. That's man. That's man. You can get pissed off at me if you want to, men, but that's just you creating that crap. Because God wants every living, breathing creature on this earth to come together. So it's not about being desperate. It's about us wanting a child. There's nothing wrong with a woman wanting to be married, wants kids. So you got to put this label on her now. Oh, she's desperate. She's thirsty. Come up with these terms and all of this crap. This is by the laws of nature. You say that about when you go to in the jungle and say, oh, a lion wants to have sex. Oh, she's thirsty. This is about we need animals. We need how long you been on this earth and you've been seeing birds? And every animal, every creature on this earth serves a purpose.
Yeah.
So God knows he has to keep them going, right? Every time us men see a woman walk past us, we see one of God's commercials.
Oh, I love that. I need theme music now. No, it's very true. I mean, I love all this so much. I'm even going to watch it again myself. We could talk for hours. Like, we're going to definitely have to hop on again and just, keep blessing the people as much as possible. But I really, really appreciate this conversation so much. I learned so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Learn too. Okay, so where can we find you online, and do you have anything coming up so we can follow, support you? I know you're speaking all over. You have shows. How can we get into your world?
Yeah. I'm right now currently going to be putting something together. Why men go straight to the fix-it mode when woman just wants him to listen. So I'm going to explain about the science as to why men, the husband, goes to the fix-it mode. He's like, oh, I told him such and such, but I didn't want him to tell me what to do. I just wanted him to listen. So I'm explaining why men go straight to the fix-it mode, and a little bit as well as why one man wants to be heard, and how the male could let her know, I hear you, and now this is the reason why I'm trying to fix it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm targeting everybody else, but I'm also targeting therapists so they can explain to the couples why men actually go to the fix-it mode. So we're not as mad when the woman is trying to explain or trying to vent to him what happened at the job. And this is, when he goes into the fix it mode, she will understand why. Yeah. So you
that
can look,
understanding is
yeah,
everything. Understanding is so key.
yeah. Understanding is the key. Even with communication, I say that, and you're so right. I say that too, Jaimi, when you are having a conversation, because people say the key to a good relationship is communication, but the key to a good relationship is understanding the communication.
Yes, I
That's the key.
agree 1,000,000%. I mean, I'm definitely not perfect at it, but I personally feel like I have a great gift of understanding, because even if I don't agree, I can get why it happened.
Yeah.
And so even being an interviewer, it adds to me, because I'm not judging everything whoever I'm interviewing is saying or whatever the case, just because I can understand how all is a possibility, but it leaves so much space to see where we can serve. If you
Yeah.
understand, you know how you can serve with your personality, your skills, your responses, your heart, your love, your space. So understanding is huge. So I absolutely agree. And I think when we talk about science, it really helps people understand, just because, I don't know, we're wired to learn about facts. You just listed the facts. So this is what happened, y'all. This ain't his opinion. These are the facts. When you're attracted to somebody, what
That's
happened.
right. And this is not me. This is not me saying it. This is just the facts.
Right.
The facts.
So
so if y'all started emailing me and then whatever, this man, I'm not telling you what I think.
Correct.
I moved on in my career from telling people what I think. I do my research, and I've researched, myself, and I'm a part of research, and I teach neuroscience. Oh, I forgot to say that too. And I teach neuroscience for OptiMind Institute. And so I'm seeing the science every day of my life, and I'm seeing new things. I mean, gosh, every time I turn around, we're discovering, more and more things about the brain and why we do what we do. I know nothing compared to what I, need to know. And there's so much more out there. So, and if anybody have questions, please post them and you let me know. And I'll definitely, come on and answer some of those questions and everything too. And we just come on again and make a topic out of that one too as well.
I love it.
I'll be your regular guy to come on every once in a while.
Yeah, I would love that. Yes, please. Well, thank you so much. And, thank you for all you guys that tuned in. So, of course, this is Kings Speak. You can find Kings Speak on Instagram under the name, or also you can follow the playlist here on my YouTube channel. And again, this is just an opportunity to speak with men, get their point of view on the deep, important topics we all need. This is a platform to create understanding between us all, so that we can all experience harmony and love and learn more about life and each other. Yeah. So, yes, thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah. So actually, as far as next shows, I actually have one today at 3 p.m., which will talk about personal codes and principles. And then I have another one on the 20th. And we're going to be talking with a film director, Reggie Gaskins, who wrote a film on men who have experienced sexual abuse. We hear so much about the Me Too movement and women and abuse and rape and all this, but y'all, there are some men out here who have gone through sexual trauma as children and all these things. So we got some good topics coming up. So make sure to
Yeah. I'll be talking to I don't know the date, but I will be talking about how to focus and some of the reasons for actors. I'll be talking with an actress, and we'll be talking about the film industry. I also work, as a consultant in the industry, but I'll be talking about how to focus and how to channel your frequency into getting more work, and how to know what auditions you could go to and what auditions you shouldn't go to, And it all goes to back to relationships, to a relationship with a casting agent, a relationship with a producer, a relationship with a director, and to know, you know, what those techniques I could use, and to give me more hope in the industry, you know, the science of it. So yeah.
Ooh, I love that. I'm gonna have to tune in. So we can find you on you do these on Facebook Live?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, relationship. You can find me on Facebook, Ryeal Simms, the relationship scientist. There are a couple of pages that's called Doctor. I don't use those as much. It's only because the page that I started had relationship scientists, and Facebook made you change the names to it. So that's the one that had the most people on it. So I still use that one. But I'll check the Doctor ones too to see if, because some people go on that, think that's the one that I use the most. But Ryeal Simms, the relationship scientist, is the one that I use the most. So you can go on there, and Instagram, Dr. Ryeal Simms, and all the other ones, you know, you can find.
I'm not following you on Instagram. I didn't know you were on.
I know. No, it's the truth. It's the truth, because I was, you know, at one time I was like, oh man, I got to start using Instagram, you know.
I know.
And I was like, okay, this is not that bad. You know, I was intimidated at first, you know, at Instagram when all of those things came out, because I was so used to Facebook. I'm like, oh, I can't go out and go to these other. Now I got to get on. What's the other one? The new one? TikTok or?
Oh Lord, woo, I don't even get on TikTok. That's just over my head.
There's like so many of them, man. You know.
I'm telling my age.
Yeah, right. And that's how, actually, when I was speaking, when I was touring with Tavis Smiley, Professor Cornel West, Michael Eric Dyson, all them, we did this thing called Pass the Mic and the Tavis Smiley Youth Institute. So we would tour all over the United States and talk to the youth. And so my thing, they talk to the youth about business, being entrepreneurs. You know, we're raising them from a kid, you know, on. And then my thing was talking to the kids about everything that I'm talking about now, right? Didn't leave out anything, you know. And I talked to them before they actually go to college. So the kids, we went to the radio station to promote that we're going to be doing this. So in the van, the kids was like, "Are you on Facebook?" And I was like, "What is that? What's Facebook?" But that's when all the kids was on Facebook, right? You know. So I felt funny when I was on Facebook with all the kids, because they told me, it's like, you got to get on Facebook so we can ask you questions. You know.
Correct.
Ask you questions, and we want to. So the director of it, she created a Facebook page, you know, for them to all go on. And which is still there, actually. Tavis Smiley Youth to Leaders Institute is still on Facebook, and but now they're all grown. They're married, lawyers and doctors and everything, you know. And
that is amazing.
Yeah, so when I was on, I think I was probably the first person on Facebook, the first adult on Facebook.
I was probably still on MySpace.
Oh yeah, I remember MySpace. Yeah.
Yeah, because Facebook originally was just for college kids. It was like a college thing.
That's what I said. I probably was the first adult, and I even felt funny. I kept saying, I don't know if I should answer these questions. Their parents aren't on Facebook, and me as an adult, you know, sending them messages and answering their questions. You know, I felt so funny. You know.
That is
now
it's like this is
all you old folk.
Oh my God, I love it. Yes, this is so good. So I'm gonna message you. Actually, I have a TV show idea, and you just reminded me, maybe I should tell you about it and ask you about it.
Okay, absolutely.
Or what you think about it, because I'd love for you to be a part of it. I've never written a TV show, but I did, and I submitted it to the WGA, so it's all trademarked according to that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to message you about that in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be totally cool. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you so much
for showing up. And you guys, please share with a friend. And we'll see you for the next episode. episode of Kings Speak.
Yes. All righty. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.